All right, how you guys doing? So in this lesson, I'm going to show you guys how to prepare for transplanting. That's how to prepare your cocoa, I guess whatever your final pot's going to be for the transplant after we had already done the seedlings. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so now it's preparing the water that we're going to use to soak down the cocoa, because you don't want to just go right into like dry cocoa. You don't want to just like water it with regular water. And so I have here RO water in this thing. I bought these empty, and then I just fill them up with RO water. Now, also most of the time, I'll fill up an entire tote, like a 50-gallon tote from Walmart. It has a good solid lid. And I'll fill that thing up to about maybe 30, 40 gallons. You can't fill them up all the way, otherwise they like want to break open and rip on you. You can also use a big type of garbage can or something like that that can hold enough water. Usually I'll probably just start putting water right into my reservoir and then mix it that way. But anyway, I'll show you guys how I do that when we get to the big grow. For right now, we're focusing, this part is just how to make it for the seedlings. You don't need a bunch of water for this. In fact, you can just make a gallon. You don't even need more than a gallon for this. First thing is, let's dump the water into the bucket. And I might go ahead and rinse out the bucket just a little bit. You can also rinse it out with a hose. Clean it really good prior. All right, sorry about that. It's kind of raining out here, so it might be a little bit loud. But yeah, so after you have your bucket clean, just go ahead and pour the water in there. Now my well water is so good, I can probably get away with just doing well water. It's only like 60 ppm. It's really low. And so I might not even use RO water. I might just use the hose straight into my reservoir. But for right now, I'm using RO water in the beginning, just to make sure everything goes right. Right, so the measurements, I'll tell you for both a gallon and for 5 gallons. You really just, either divide it by 5 or multiply by 5, right? You're definitely going to want one of these things here. All right, so a little dropper thing. I bought it from, I believe I bought this one from Rite Aid. We're going to need CalMag Plus. You don't have to use this, but I've been using this root accelerator. It's super expensive, $81 for this tiny little thing. But I only use it for like the first week, and it does seem to help. And then right here, Nova Bloom. You can use Nova Grow as well, or you can use Nova Bloom. So you can either use Nova Grow or Nova Bloom for this part. I find that for the very beginning, the Nova Bloom helps with the growth of the roots and stuff a little bit better. And then after like the first week, you can switch over or whatever. Oh man, sorry about that. The rain's really coming down now. I'm not sure if you can hear that. But, alright, that's Oregon for you. We're going to want only a very small amount of this. But first, let's go with the CalMag. The CalMag, we want 2 milliliters. So per gallon. So we're going to want 10 milliliters total. I like to put a little water in between like that to rinse it out. That way don't mix and reach it straight. And we need some sort of stirring stick. A wooden dowel from Home Depot works great. Alright, so next we go ahead and we just stir this up a little bit. We want to stir between everything that we mix in here. Alright, now the root accelerator, I pretty much use as it's directed. Shake it up really good because it's got a little bit thick. Now on here, I'll just tell you what it says here real quick. It says for instructions, 1.1 milliliter per gallon, or if you're using it with added oxygen, you can do 0.5 milliliters per gallon. I don't think it takes much of this stuff. So usually for entire 5 gallons, for 1 gallon, I might use like 0.5 milliliters. So basically a half milliliter. And on this thing, it has milliliters on that side, so it'll just be like literally half of the milliliter thing. In this case, I'm gonna do about 3.5 milliliters per 5 gallons. Mix it in there. Now this stuff's really thick, so you have to kind of, run water in and out of it a few times before you actually get rid of all of it. About like that. I'm making bigger batches. I use like the shot glasses from a grow shop that has the little markings on it, the milliliter markings on it. Now you could get away with watering with just this right here for the first few days if you wanted to, but I always like to add a little bit of nutrients right away, like right when the seedlings are already popped, and I'll show you how they look right when I'm transplanting to my transplanting juice. So make sure you shake this stuff up really good. I've already shook it up really good off camera. I shake it like this, and I also shake it up and down. This stuff is really thick, and if you don't shake it, it'll get out of proportion because you'll get a big thick layer at the bottom. And if you have a big thick layer at the bottom, you don't want that. So I use about maybe one. So this one might be kind of hard to figure out how to divide because I use about 2 milliliters or so. Maybe 1 milliliter. 1 milliliter per gallon. So I might use 5 total here. Hopefully that's gonna give me around what I'm looking for. I'm looking for around anywhere from around 300 ppm, somewhere around there will be fine. Stir it up really good. And this right here is the water we're going to use to not just water our seedlings with, but also to water our pots with. I like to do this outside because you want to put a lot of water through your pots before you actually transplant. You want to make sure your cocoa is nice and saturated, and you pull out as much of anything that might be in it. I'm using the Royal Gold, the red bag of their cocoa, just pure cocoa. Sometimes I use Cocotec, the actual bricks, which you have to expand in water. In that case, I make water just in this exact same ratio, but I make much more of it. Make about 10 gallons of it inside of a tote, and I expand it inside of this water right here, this mixture of water. All right. That's all you do for that part. The next part is taking our pots. I'm going to be growing in 3-gallon pots. They're right around 3-gallon pots. They're small pots. I want small plants in there. I don't want big old plants in that little closet. And so you got to be careful at what size pot you use. And I can get off of a 5-gallon pot, I can get a huge plant. I mean, gigantic. So yeah, 5 gallons is a lot. With the 10-gallon pot, it's really kind of, most autos never use that much space. 7 gallons is like the max I've seen, and I got almost a 3-pound plant, autoflower plant by Royal Queen Seeds. It was their autocritical, and I did that with it was crazy. I couldn't believe it, but I did that with just a 7-gallon pot. And yeah, so all right, that's that part. We'll go ahead now and we'll take this water with a pitcher or something, and we're gonna pour it into our pots that have cocoa in them already. I'm not going to show you how to fill up cocoa to a pot. It's really easy. You just dump the cocoa in there, and then you fill up almost to the top. I want to leave a little bit of room for like sand, just in case you get gnats or anything like that. That gets rid of them. All right. So I actually have 4 pots here, but I'm going to demonstrate with just one because there's no reason to do all 4. You just need to see it, demonstrate at one time what to do. You just do it with all your pots. This is the brand of cocoa that I'm using right here. This is what I fill them up with. For those who don't know what cocoa is, it's basically cocoa fiber. This one here has nothing added to it, absolutely nothing at all. Right, made in Humboldt. So looks like this here, and again, I have absolutely. It kind of looks like a really dark soil, and basically what it is, it's the husk. It's basically the husk of coconut, like actual coconuts that you eat, and it's the husk, and they grind it up and they make this nice soil out of it. It's a soilless medium. You want to water every single day. So you'll see as we go through this grow, I'm going to water every single day, and that's what you want to do. So I couldn't find my pitcher. I didn't feel like driving all the way down to Walmart right now just to get a 1/2-gallon pitcher. So I'm just going to use this for right now. It does. I just cut, it's just a gallon. I just cut the top off. I cleaned it really good with some alcohol water, then rinse it out really good. Now you want to run a lot of water through this thing at first. And this is why I like to do it outside, because I want to make sure that it has plenty of time for it to all seep out of here. Now what's awesome about this is this will just seep right down. You can like set it down by like where you want nutrients at or something like that. Like I have a garden bed right over here that I'm gonna be doing peppers and cantaloupe and orange watermelon and what else is something else I'm growing. I can't remember what the other thing is right now this year. But yeah, just I'm gonna put a whole gallon through here. You just want to make sure this is nice and saturated with nutrients. This also helps rinse out the cocoa. It's already pre-rinsed cocoa, but I like to do this to make sure that my nutrients is saturated, especially the calcium, the CalMag, because cocoa tends to need more CalMag because it kind of sucks it out. And so that just soaks it all the way through like that. I'm gonna leave it out here and I'll let it run out because you'll see that it's running out the bottom. And I'll let that run out for a good, maybe 5 minutes or so, something like that. And that's pretty much it. So I'll do that with the other four. Then I'll show you how to transplant into the actual pot. Two different methods. One will be using both of them. Actually, I want to use the 4-inch rock cubes. Now remember, some of them we actually sprouted out of a rockwool cube, and so that we're gonna have to put into a bigger rockwool cube, the 4-inch rockwool cube. The other one we actually put into just paper towel, and that one we're gonna put right into a rockwool cube, and then that will go into here. And then if you want to, you can keep them in rockwool cubes inside of like a humidity dome at first if you want to, and then you can transfer it later. But yeah, all right. All right, so this part here is, this is the one of the seedlings here of the 6-shooter. And so you can see it just sprung up right out of there. Remember, this was inside the plastic bag, so it kept it moist the entire time. It's been in there the entire time. It took about 3 days for it to sprout out like this. Once it sprouts out like this, I'm going to take off the zip tie, which you can use a knife to do or scissors, and then we're going to put it inside of a 4-inch rockwool cube. Now, this isn't mandatory. You don't have to put it inside this 4-inch rockwool cube. I just highly recommend it, and we need to cut a hole in here because these ones don't come with holes in them. And then the 4-inch rockwool cube we're going to put inside of our container. And this way, also you want to leave some extra space. It's going to displace a lot of that cocoa. You could just put this, cut this off and put this straight into the cocoa. Problem is you really have to make sure for the first at least week that this has stayed nice and moist. You have to make sure it never dries out. Otherwise, because if those beginning roots dry out, it will die. And I've had it happen a few times to me. But also using the rockwool cube, I find gives me a better result overall. Using the 4-inch rockwool cube, it just really helps get that first 4 inches of nice, good roots. And what I do is I just water this thing here, and then once the roots start hitting the cocoa, then I'll, after about a week or so, I'll also water just the very edge of the cocoa. I'll show you how I do that here in a second after I transplant. So in order to transplant this, I want to first get this wet and soak it. We're going to soak it in the exact same water that I just made for the cocoa. I'm going to just use a knife that I have on me here. It's a good military grade knife. Make sure it's nice and soaked. Sometimes I'll even let them soak overnight, but or at least for an hour or so. But at the times I do it this way. I've done it all kinds of ways, and I really notice the difference between soaking it overnight versus just soaking it really quick like. Right, so like that. And then I need to cut a hole about the same size as this. So first thing I'm gonna go like this. This is a CRKT knife, really cool knife. But actually, I might be able to just slip this right off of here because it's not on there super tight. Yeah, it looks like it'll slip right off. Now, believe it or not, at this stage, this is when I start actually giving them. I'm gonna just dip this right in here inside get it moist with that new water. This is being the water mixture I just made. Another thing you might want to do is check the pH of it actually. So I forgot to say about that part. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a hole in this though right now, just to make sure. It cuts really easy. You can probably use a kitchen knife if you really wanted to, just to kind of cut a little square out of here, and then just kind of pick to the side to kind of start getting those fibers. Just kind of push to the diagonal on each side. So you cut the fibers diagonally like that to make sure you get that piece out. Make sure you save some of this extra fiber because you might need it in order for this to fit in there properly. I like to take some of this and I like to tuck it around. Now, if you for whatever reason you accidentally forget to do your pHing and you're like, oh man, I totally forgot to pH. I'm tucking it tighter on the side so it stays, there's no space, there's no gap there. But for whatever reason, you're like, oh man, I really forgot to actually pH my water. I just added all that stuff to it. Not too big of a deal. Just go ahead and make another batch of water, pH it, and then after that, take that water and re-water your pots again with it, and it'll replace the other water. Just make sure you put like a good enough amount of water to get a lot of runoff. All right, so after the next step is you want to just kind of take with your hand, make a nice hole in here, about the same size as the 4-inch, maybe a little bit bigger, and just kind of pull this out and make sure you can fit this in here. Right now, I like it to be fully covered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my other pots to temporarily transfer some of this cocoa over here like this. I want to make sure it's nice and deep. This also helps that it's nice and soaking wet as well. Helps the transplanting be a little easier. It's still not quite deep enough and thick enough, so you can see how this 4-inch rock wool cube really makes a difference on how much cocoa you use in this small little pot. So I'm actually going to have some leftover cocoa when I'm done with this. About like that. Then you want to kind of start jostling it down the edges. We want to make sure the edges get nice and tight. You don't want any air gaps for the roots to like die off in. Then take some of your extra cocoa here and spread it on top. Now just at this point, you don't want too much. You can always, add some, a sand layer on the top of it to help protect from bugs and stuff. But I like to just get a nice layer of cocoa first. Now, the reason why I do that is otherwise the rock wool will start growing algae on it. Just like that. It's just a very, very thin layer, like so. The next stage is I'll show you how to actually water this thing once it's in here, and to be careful because you want to water it afterwards to make sure it displaces any air pockets or anything like that and kind of pushes it around. You want to give it a decent watering right after you transplant, even though it's already soaked anyway. You want to get just to place everything, make sure everything nice and good. And then we're going to water it every single day to make sure that the cocoa and that this rock wool cube stays moist. But we're only going to water, when we water every day, we're just going to water right here where the rock wool is with just a little bit of water. It doesn't take much. You just want to kind of feel. That's why I put a very thin layer, so I can kind of feel the rock wool just to see, hey, is it drying out? Is it staying moist enough? Because if it dries out, then your seedling can die. You don't want that to happen. Right, so that's pretty much it. Then we'll go ahead and give it a little bit of water, and that's it. All right, so if you did everything I used here exactly as I use it, or even if you don't use a root, you just used these two products here, the CalMag, and exact ratios that I did with. That is 1 milliliter per gallon and then 2 milliliters per gallon. And you used RO water. Your water should be at right around 6 pH, which is okay. So you might want to use a little bit of pH down to get it down to about 5.7. For the first day, I'm not too worried about it being at 6. That's fine. The next batch I make that I water it with will be at 5.8, and that's what I'll be watering with every day after that. So if I have to use a little bit of pH down, and this is pretty much what I use for the first week, and then after this I'll bump it up to about maybe 3 teaspoons, 2 to 3 teaspoons per 5 gallons of water of the Florinova grow, probably instead of bloom. Yeah, but maybe I might just do bloom through the entire thing. Many times I've done bloom through the entire thing. It's basically a Lucas formula. Right, so next thing we need to do is we need to water this thing now. Now, how you water this is important. I want to make sure that you guys can see this really good. So hopefully you're able to see that. I just watered it basically right around where the rock wool cube is, the 4-inch rock wool cube, and right around the edges is where I water, and that's it. It's that simple. All right, now the other one we need to transplant comes in our paper sack here. Or not paper sack. Well, it was in a paper sack. Now it's in it's in a paper towel that's inside of a Ziploc bag, which is inside of a paper sack. About 3 days later, what you usually get is a nice long taproot, And sometimes I recommend only going 2 days. Now you can actually see that it's worked its way into the paper towel. And it's right there inside the paper towel. Now when that happens, you just want to take the paper towel and kind of pull it apart. You want to make sure not to pull the actual root itself. So you want to, on the side of the root like that, just kind of pull it around. You can also cut it if you want to. I just like to pull it around where it's stuck inside of the paper towel. Now, believe it or not, I've done this several times. This is actually how I did my 14-ounce autoflower Northern Lights. It's also how I did my world record. Those are both world records. That's a world record, by the way. Then I topped my own world record with auto critical, and did this exact same method. I even left some paper towel on it, and it was really long like this. You want to make sure you grab it from the end here when you do grab it, like so. And then if you want, you can cut off a little bit of that excess paper towel if you want, but it's not really going to hurt anything. I like to get rid of as much as possible though. What I just don't want to do is I don't want to actually, you know, tear into the root at all. And so I'm just going to go like that. And I'm going to tear right, just the paper towel itself, not the root, like so. Now the rest of the paper towel I actually leave intact like that. I don't like to take that off. Oops. I leave intact like that. So this is the exact same method I used, again, for my big monster plant autoflower. It's 2.95 pounds. That's dry weight, folks. So it works. So the paper towel method definitely works. And then you take this and transplant. And this is exactly how I did it. You can watch my video to see that's how I did it. Now from here, you don't want to just go straight into your final pot. You actually want to go into your 4-inch Rocco cube. Now you can do a 2-inch Rocco cube if you want. I highly recommend the 4-inch Rocco cube. It's what I did with all my record breaking. All my biggest plants have gone into the 4-inch Rocco cube. Go ahead and soak this in here. Now with this here, you can actually use a chopstick or something like that to poke a hole in it. You can also use a knife. In this case, I'm going to use a knife. Whenever you grab it, always grab it by the end, right where you see the false leaves coming out there. I'm going to cut deep. I'm going to kind of pinch it apart to make sure I can get that whole entire root in there nice and good. And kind of pull it to the side like this. Makes it a nice hole I can see all the way down in there. And I just kind of wrap it up. I'm going to kind of gently push the root down in there. And we use the dull side of the knife. I don't mind if the roots get a little bit tangled up in there. And then you got to pinch this all back together. Like so. The important part is that there's no spacing. There's no gap there between the roots. Like that. I'm actually going to smash all of this down here. Right, then we do the exact same thing we did last time. I'm going to take another pot here. We're going to have to remove a lot of this coco. Not too big of a deal. I'll actually keep it a little bit higher this time though. Maybe about that high. Then I'll start digging in here like this. Remember, you want to dig in quite deep. You can use your hand to start pushing it to the sides like this, like you're almost like you're molding clay or something. Make sure it's in deep enough, and also make sure you have it smashed in so where it can really fit in there. I don't really want to smash the Rocco cube itself. Now there's going to be some air gaps in the bottom too, and that's again why you want to give it a decent watering afterwards to make sure it displaces all that. Just a very thin layer of coco on the top here. Make this all even. Be careful not to disturb the plant itself. Take your time. like so. Want to kind of make sure that's popping up a little bit. And at first, I might not even put any in the very middle, just so I can make sure I can see the plant. Make sure everything works out good. Then you want to go ahead and give it a nice watering. Sometimes I'll even, and that's where I wanted to be careful not to do. If that happens, just be very careful when you pull it away. I might even hold my finger there just so that doesn't happen again. Like so. I'm going to just give it a nice good watering this time around the edges. I really want to make sure that any displacement that was at the bottom of this one goes away. The other time I showed you when I watered was to show you how you water every single day. This is how you want to water after you transplant. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. This just makes sure that you get rid of any sort of gaps and holes and stuff that might have formed. Like so. I'm going to remake all this nice and flat. Now I'm going to do the exact same process for the other ones. This is the 6-shooters. Make sure to label your pots afterwards. You can either draw on the pots themselves. And some people might be wondering what kind of pots these are. They're just, I got them at Wilco. And they're just recycled paper type pots or something like that. They work good. I've grown in them before, and they worked fantastic. So nothing wrong with them. All right, so that's that. Now we got our 6-shooters are ready to rock and roll. Got them poking out. After we have the rest of the room built, I'll go ahead and show you how these all fit in there. And then I'm gonna do the transplant the OGs now the exact same way I did these two, and then we'll be done with this part. That's how you transplant. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And that's how you transplant your seedlings. So it depends on what method you use. Now some people like to plant right into the medium they're gonna be using. So what you could do if you use a 4-inch rock wool cube is take your 4-inch rock wool cube, put it inside of here, make sure it's all nice and wet. Take your knife, make a little indent in there. Take your seedling or take your seed, put the seed in the side, just barely, like maybe half an inch inside the rock wool cube, and then close it up so it's nice and tight, and then it'll grow up and out of it. But I just don't like having to wait for it because I'm like, well, what if it's not sprouting right? This way, if I have it in paper towel, I like the paper towel method the best because then I can really see how it's doing it. I can wait 2 days and see how it looks. I can open up the paper towel and go, hey, you know what, it's ready to transplant. Or I can see, hey, in 2 days, nothing's really happened. Let's close it back up, put it back inside the Ziploc bag and wait another day or two. And then once it's ready, boom. I've never had a problem doing it that way. As long as you're gentle with how I just showed you, you'll get good results. Everything will be fine. All right, so that's it. That's how you transplant your plants. And this is for both autos and regulars. I do the same method for all of them. It's bulletproof, it works. So, it's up to you how you want to do it, but this is how I do it. It works fantastic.